I was going to do just a quick informational video about this issue with the John McCain. Senior NCO has pled guilty to one count of dereliction in exchange for just reduction in grade from E7 to E6. Now, in this quick report from USNI, it does highlight a very curious thing that when I started looking back into the issues with the McCain, I found a hole in the story. Somewhat unrelated, but I have yet to find any reasonable explanation for how this could possibly be. See, the Navy reports were done in a very sloppy manner and very quick, and it looked like they were trying to cover up things with the Fitzgerald. We've covered it to the point of the story being ridiculous. With the McCain, not so much, but now we found something. And I think once you realize what it means, that you'll see that in this particular case, there may have also been something going on we're not being told. Now, here's the story from USNI. Senior enlisted member of the guided missile destroyer USS McCain, DDG-56, pled guilty to single charge of dereliction of duty. Chief Bosun's mate, Jeffrey Butler, 40, admitted to a military judge he had inadequately trained sailors who manned the bridge during the 21 August collision between McCain and the merchant oiler Alnick MC. Butler was not on the bridge at the time of the collision and sentenced to reduction in rank from E7 to E6. Now, given the magnitude of this case, that 10 people died, and he's accepting responsibility for not training those that were responsible for the maintaining of the course of the ship, that's a pretty light punishment, and I think the U.S. Navy is realizing that there may be something else going on, but they're trying to get this out of the media quickly so that nobody looks into it. And given that the commander of the Fitzgerald is taking this to a court-martial and not doing any deals, I think that will also let you know that there's something to be revealed here. Now, real quick, what they were talking about here, this is from the Drive, and a lot of other websites covered this particular case. In its investigation, the Navy found that the McCain's helmsman, Lee helmsman, and other personnel lacked adequate training on the steering and speed controls. On top of that, several sailors on the bridge during the accident had been earlier temporarily assigned similar duties on board the USS Antietam, a Tycho-class cruiser with significantly different control layout, which led to apparent confusion and a lack of understanding of what was going on when it appears the steering had given out. Now, if these guys were from the Antietam and they were temporarily assigned there, how in the hell could that have been the job of this bosun's mate aboard the McCain to train them? That doesn't really make much sense, at least not from my perspective. Maybe things are done differently. And I guess maybe temporarily, I don't know how long they would or would not have been there. But in the report, something very, very strange, and I'll get back to this here in a minute, about this issue with the Alnick MC and John McCain initially remained attached to each other. After the collision, sailors described this as lasting up to a couple of minutes. The prolonged contact kept the ship from taking a list tilt to one side immediately. Sailors on the bridge and on the external deck of the ship immediately after the collision could see Alnick MC's bow still lodged into the side of John S. McCain. However, within 15 minutes, John S. McCain had developed a 4-degree list to the port as the ship flooded. Now, I want you to remember this paragraph. This is page 49 from the official Navy report. Now, we're going to go down to their timeline of events here. And I want to highlight something for you that will illustrate that perhaps this wasn't just poor training. Perhaps this was something a little bit more suspicious. And pardon me taking a bunch of time here to do this, but okay, we start 20 August 2017. Navigation briefing, 1300, this is the day before. Commanding officer retired to his cabin at 17:30 hours, reemerges aboard the bridge at around 1 o'clock. And let's see if we can go up to that here. Yeah, 0115, commanding officer arrived on the bridge. Apparently he was going to do the night watch because they were going through an area that was heavily trafficked. I want to show you all of the different changes that happened as far as steering and speed in between 0115 and 0524 when the collision happened, and to show you that there was absolutely no report of any problems either changing the speed or the course of the ship from the helm. There's also no report of the watchstanders changing, meaning different personnel, so that we would have a different person doing it. And in these reports, these things are covered. We have a new crew, we have a new watchstanding crew, and they do put that in these reports. Now, 0216, watchstanders shifted propulsion operations to what is termed split plant, a condition in which different gas turbines drive each of the two shafts separately. No one has ever really satisfactorily explained why that would have been necessary, based on what they describe as the problem with the steering was. 0300, currents were running at a speed of 2.7 knots, requiring steering adjustment. Okay, more watchstanders, additional watchstanders, not new, additional, at 0418. Now, we're only about an hour away from the collision here. Navigation watchstanders begin determining the ship's position every 5 minutes. Okay, 427. John S. McCain turned to avoid surface contacts in the area. No report of any problem steering or speed control. XO arrives at 4:30. So now we have the commander and the XO. Okay, aboard the bridge. There shouldn't be any issues. The commanding officer ordered steering modes shifted from automatic control to backup manual control. The bridge orders various rudder orders to avoid shipping. None of these maneuvers were logged, but no problems were logged as well. John McCain turned to port, steady, 227. This is 0444. Now we're only about 45 minutes away. No reported problem, turning or speed. Increased speed 17 knots, no problem. Reduced speed to 16 knots, no problem. Reveille. Increased to 18 knots, no problem reported. Alter course to 226, no problem recorded here. The reason I'm showing you all this is because of what happens at 0519. Here's another increase in speed, another increase in speed, another turn. The helmsman was compensating for effects of currents with between 1 and 4 degrees of right rudder to stay on course 230 true. The commanding officer noticed the helmsman was struggling to maintain course while simultaneously adjusting the throttles at 0519, but at no point prior to that did we see any acknowledgement that that was the case. Now here's where things get a little weird. The CO ordered steering control separated from propulsion control, with duties divided between helm and lee helm. Okay, now look at the time. 519 up here. Sorry, 519. Supervisory watch stations were that the AIS representation of contacts was cluttered and useless. So they weren't going to be using AIS on this. They didn't necessarily really have a problem because I think they were following tracks visually because they were so close and there were enough people on the bridge to do this. And here it describes that. John S. McCain was overtaking motor vessel, blah, 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 making 18.6 knots. Okay, so lee helm station took control of steering in computer-assisted mode. The shift in steering locations caused the rudder to move amidships. They're saying they didn't notice this. Lee helm took control of the port shaft. Port and starboard shafts were both at 087 RPM, 1% pitch. So they were operating split plant, but they were operating at identical rates. That's weird. Why would you have split plant if you were going to just be operating them in unison anyway? And I'm asking, I would like some Navy folks to maybe comment on this and tell me if they see the same problem that I do. Helm reported to his immediate supervisor he had lost steering control. And the officer of the deck was informed. The helm reported loss of steering to the officer of the deck. Rudders were amidship. It covers all of the speed and the course this was on and where the Alnick MC was. Conning officer, person responsible, issued steering orders, ordered the helm to shift steering control to a different unit. The loss of steering casualty on the ship's general announcing circuit was announced. So 521. So look at all the things that have happened between 519 and 521. This sounds like a shit show. It really does. Now here's what goes great. In 2 minutes, steering units on the port rudder were shifted as ordered. Steering units on the starboard rudder were ordered. The first watchstander reported after steering. Now, still turning, and apparently nobody knows what's going on. We're only at 522. We're only covering 3 minutes worth of information here. This is how crazy this went. Now, at some point here, the captain orders ordered the lights changed because they were not in control of the vessel. And let me see if I can find that here. Give me 1 second, guys. Here it is. 522. Janice McCain was on course 216.3 true, speed 18.4 knots, and was turning to port at a rate of approximately 0.2 degrees per second. Bridge watchstanders followed the commanding officer's order to change the lighting configuration to indicate a vessel not under command by the international rules of the road. So from 519, when he made this order, to 522, it changed that drastically, that he changed the lighting configuration of the ship. Now, let's get down here to the collision. The collision happened at 052358. Alnick's bulbous bow struck JSM between frame 308 and 345. But down here at 52424 it says JSM engines answered all stops, shafts came to idle speed. The ship was on course 138.6 true, speed 5.7 knots, and the ship was turning to port at a rate of approximately 1.4 degrees per second. At 5, literally they're talking within 30 seconds here. But do you remember what the report said earlier? Up on page 48? The report said, pardon me for this. Well, let's look at this real quick. This is the AIS track of the Alnick MC. And the time of here, of course, correlated for GMT, would be 0527 hours. So this is right after the collision. They said that the ship remained together and lodged together for this large amount of time. Now here's the collision right here, 52450. And as you can see, here's the course of the Alnick MC. Now if the course of the Alnick MC looks like it's about 138, how could the McCain have been continually lodged? See, we're 5 minutes later here. Only 5 minutes after collision. And as you can see, this is what AIS is reporting of the Alnick MC. And I have this slowed way down, but you can see how fast time is going forward here. We're up to 542. And now it's moving back almost directly north at this point. So let's go back to the report. How could this be, back on page 48? Sorry about this. This statement about the ship being Alnick MC and Janice McCain initially remained attached to each other. After the collision, sailors described this as lasting up to a couple of minutes. The prolonged contact kept the ship from taking a list. Sailors on the bridge and on the external deck of the ship immediately after the collision could see Alnick MC's bow still lodged into the side of the McCain. However, within 15 minutes, Janice McCain had developed a 4-degree list to port. So how could, in the report, they have had a minute later, be reported as having control of the ship? So you see, because down here it says the collision happens at 52358 and 52424. They're supposedly on course 138.6. No mention of the ship being literally stuck into the front of another one. So I'll leave it there. Very, very strange thing for this bosun's mate to admit to not training sailors that weren't even aboard his ship. So we'll leave it there. Like, share, subscribe.